It always comes to this. More nice shit. Back again to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had just had this guy done up here. It is healed now. So you can see the white came out quite a bit. It was very, very pink when we first did it. It was obviously mixing with, first off, God knows how many layers of ink. I can't even tell you. It's, if it was possible to keep track, I've lost track. But the most recent layers were the 3 layers of red velvet we did over black, and whatever colors that have been used in this Cthulhu's head have been covered with white and black as well with this tattoo. So any number of layering in there and the white mixing with everything underneath of it, it's always going to take on a bit of the color of whatever the hell else is in there. So in this case, it came out looking sort of pink. I think personally, we're probably, when I do this again, I'll probably have Terry darken up the shading a little bit in places, because I do think that with time, and people are going to think, of course it's not going to age that way or that well. I'll get back to that in a minute. I do think with time, some of the softer black that he did will, you know, like with any soft shading, it won't hold up as well as darker shading. That is the case in this as well. Even though right now, if it were to stay how it is, I would be very happy with it. It's obviously less striking than it was when it was first done, but it may have been almost too bright, the red. With that said, this will take no time to touch up, so we can get the red a little bit less dull looking, we'll say. Same as what happened on the back of my head, really, which is holding up, I think, fairly well. I can't tell what I'm looking at right now. I've looked at it in the mirror a couple times, but much like my back blackout, after the fact, I'm not really looking at that every day. You know, I showed it off the other day, and I'm like, I honestly don't even know what that looks like. Apparently, it looks pretty black. Go figure. 2 rounds of full blackout. The bottom of it is worse than the top, but that's mostly because we did a full pass on everything except the ass cheeks and the lower back. That was just one pass, so it does look a little bit scratchier there, but it's not at a level where I actually give a shit. It would need to be far worse before I would consider going back into it right now, especially because it's already been 4 months or something, 5 months since the second pass. So that's a lot of time where it's been chilling out and the black has been softening. And if I really wanted to, I could already be covering that with new imagery. Obviously, I did my head in 3 weeks, but I didn't really want to be, with such a big area like my back, I didn't really want to be chasing that constant kind of, as colors are mixing with the fresh black, you're having to hit them again and all this shit. So especially for big surfaces like a full sleeve or a back piece project, it's probably not a wise idea to bite off more than your body can really chew or metabolize. And knowing that though it's doable to do color on black very quickly, when you're on such a large scale like that and you're knowing that you're going to have to touch up those colors, you know, within the month or two, so that you're not losing ground, mixing with the black that hasn't fully settled yet. On such a large area, it's probably better to wait for all the colors to settle in, all the black to settle in, and that seems to be somewhere between 6 months to a year for most people. That rate does seem to it does seem to change person to person. I can't put a fine point on when that happens. I get people asking me, when do you consider a tattoo settled? And it's like, I don't know that there's a firm answer on that. I will say that by now that's settled though, and so was this. So the white and black on black tattoos that I've been showing off now for years, realistically, those ones aren't really going to change any more than any other tattoo will, because all that's going to happen now is aging, and aging makes everything worse. It makes every part of us worse. From a theoretical standpoint anyway. I mean, we may learn some lessons along the way and become more mentally strong, but our bodies break down, our skin breaks down, our brains tend to break down. Some people stay fairly sharp into old age, but overall, nothing remains the same forever, and I don't really think it's wise to be basing all of your choices on what's going to look good 46 years from now when you might be dead tomorrow. Like, realistically, with all the fucking things we're playing with, we might not be here next week. That's just realistic. Or we could live for, generations to come. It's not a safe bet making all of your choices based around how things are going to look, when you're in your, 80s or 90s. Because you're not going to look great. Anyway, with that said, this healed really, really easily, and I like how it looks. So, probably do a second pass. I don't think it'll need a third pass, and I think it'll just be a quick touch up in the black, and redo the red and the white, and we'll have a really, really nice result. With that said, I had another session. Obviously, you'll have seen in the thumbnail. I had my hand tattoo worked on in the wrist area here. It was around 2.5 hours. Believe it or not, there's a lot of little crazy details in there. And obviously in the areas closer to the side of my thumb here and the side of my hand here, we went a little less crazy in the detail. Still a lot of different colors in there, lots of blending going on. Some of these tones are built up. So, for example, that yellow is put in at the very end. And that's there to add a highlight, but you can't just start with that yellow and get that color. That's already been, 2, 3, 4 times into. So everything that Rick and I have been doing with this sleeve project has been the result of like many, many layers of color. Even in the one session, there's all kinds of tones built up and gone over. So we were planning on doing up here, but I'm coming back in here, and I've already been up here, and we've been in the inner bicep a couple times in a row, this area here, and we still need to connect this piece. So I just said to Rick, I was like, why don't we just give this area a break? We can come back and hit this next week, and we can tie all this shit together then. It just makes more sense to me to do it that way. Sometimes it's just like, I've been working the same areas more or less constantly, everything around it, and it's good to just give that whole part of the body a bit of time to sort of settle and, calm down a bit. The claw in here is still pretty dry. So this whole area of my arm here in the inner bicep has a lot of scar tissue. Other parts of my arm, not so bad. Like, for example, the colors and the general work the work in general, the black, everything, seemed to go in better on my hand, believe it or not, than it would go in up here. So that's pretty muddy in there. Obviously, we're going to hit it again. I'm not really concerned. None of this causes me any concern, I'll preface, because I'm just going to do these things as many times as it takes. But on my left arm, there is a different amount of scar tissue kind of all over the place. By now, people would assume that most of me is probably just a solid sheet of scar tissue, but realistically, most of me is not that scarred. There are just some pockets where it's bad, and with how many layers I have, that's actually a fairly fucking huge compliment to the work I've had done on me. With that said, I'm going to get into the artists that I've worked with a little bit. I had a comment the other day from someone, and this is actually a fairly apt question. They asked me, with the nomadic nature of artists, and boy, is that the truth, how have you been able to get so far with this? By now it must be a partnership. And it's like, well, many people have come and many people have gone in the time that I've worked on this suit, and that's why I have taken a bit more offense to the idea that this wouldn't happen without certain artists involved in it, because realistically, I've never traveled to see artists. I've never pinpointed a specific artist that does the thing this way or that. Like, I've always found general kind of jack of all trades tattooers and pitched them ideas, and it's been a collaboration in the moment, but they don't make up the bodysuit, and a lot of the shit that I've done on me has been, it's first off been almost entirely my ideas. The only exception to that would be Rick will sometimes have his own suggestions, or he has a very unique design sense, and obviously I've worked with Rick for a very long time. We've had 2 tenures together, you could say, because he was my first tattooer as well, but there's been around 30 plus artists that have come and gone along that point. And when Rick dies or I die or whatever the fuck, like, Rick's gonna keep tattooing if I go, and likewise, if Rick croaks, I'm gonna keep getting tattooed, and the ideas, the themes aren't gonna change. Like, the execution of them may be a little different, but overall the presentation will be, most people won't even be able to tell that anything has changed, and that's not me being a dick, it's just a reality. That's been the way it's always been. I thought Terry, the guy who's done a lot of my work the last couple of years, I was thinking he was going to be leaving town here, but it seems like he's going to be staying on a little longer. Meanwhile, the girl that I was going to do my back piece with is leaving town in a few months. So, you know, that doesn't mean I'm not getting my fucking back tattooed, and it doesn't change the subject matter either. That's another part of the reason I don't bring up some projects that I'm going to be working on in the future. I've already got, like, by now it should be no surprise that I've got tons of ideas to come. I've showed that enough, but I'm not married to the direction of any one of those, and they could all develop differently. So, say, if I give Terry and Rick the same idea, it's going to look completely different, but it's going to look good either way. And same thing with my back piece idea. That would have looked a particular way with the artist I had in mind, but it will still look cool no matter who does it, because it will always be someone at a decent skill level, and that's all that really matters. Like, there's no magic trick that happens with any of these tattoos over black. Like, here's what Terry did. He took some black, he took some white, took some red. He did a tattoo. He didn't change anything about how he did it. I told him the colors I wanted to try. He's like, I think that high point's essential. I'm like, yeah, I think so too. So we really need to pound that white in. He's like, yeah. And we got to work. That's simple. He did a tattoo like you would do on someone with non-tattooed skin. There was really nothing that changed. He may push a little harder on me because my skin is obviously probably going to be a little thicker. Otherwise, it's the same ink, it's the same needles, it's the same tattoo machine, and it doesn't take any longer. Especially, I mean, obviously he's been doing this on me for a while, but we had Alex Rose come through here, and he did a tattoo on the back of my neck. He's like, I've never tattooed over black before, but I'm willing to try. Does it? Heals great. Easy. Done. No different. It's like tattooing normal skin. In fact, he said my skin was more, it took the ink easier than some non-tattooed skin. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure he says that to all the ladies. I'm not too complimented by that either. I'm putting a fine point on the fact that this is really just a mindset thing. Once you get your mind around it, it is really no different. Most people have made it into something that it isn't. I got tagged in a picture recently of a failed color on black project, but when I looked at it, the colors weren't saturated when it was fresh, and they used no black. So again, almost all of my work, well, actually all of it, really. I can't think of any of the stuff that we've done where we didn't use black first on black. The black gives it structure, it gives it contrast, it gives it clarity. If you don't do that, you're going to have a puddle of soup. I've been saying this for as long as I can remember, by the way, so I am a little bit annoyed that I even got tagged in that, because it's like, okay, you're showing me exactly what I've been telling you not to do, and you're upset that the fucking problem is there. Like, this is all framed in black. All of it was started with black. So if you don't use the black, it's like any other tattoo. It's going to be thin. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be lacking contrast and structure. You don't there's no fucking line weight. Like we just colored black with red, and it's just going to seep out. The eye is not going to notice the color because it's just going to be sitting there surrounded by something that's similar to it. So what I mean to say by that is, if you don't use a border around that color doesn't look that much different, especially on one pass, from the black background. So the eye has a hard time picking up the difference. I could see the difference in their skin after the color was put in, but because there was nothing hard next to it to frame that image, it doesn't do enough. You have to go in with the black on black first. Then you fill the color in. And I've been saying this forever. So those things are irritating. Either do it the way that I've said and show me those results, or don't tag me in your failed results, because it's not like I haven't been sharing this information. If you choose to go about it in a way that I haven't said to do so, then it's not my fault if it fails. It's that simple. You either pay attention and do it the way that I've said, or don't blame me when it doesn't work the way that I've had success. You know, I shouldn't have to state that, but here I am. Because there are a lot of people out there trying this, and I'm happy to see it, but you have to do it in a way that's intelligent and has a chance to work. I don't have magic skin. We don't have magic ink. We do a run through of the things that we use here, and they're like, what? It's so bog standard? Yeah. We're not producing magical ink that can tattoo over black in here. It's just fucking basic common sense. Do a tattoo. Do the whole tattoo. When have you ever did a cover-up on something that you didn't use some black? Like, it's just baffling logic that people think that it would be any different, really. Anyway, pretty happy with how that came out. Obviously, this is going to need a full redo. We're not in any denial about that. Hand skin sucks. But as I said, these colors went in better than they did in some places on my arm. So this hand's actually pretty scar tissue free compared to this hand over here. It's a world apart. So I think we got a shot. I think at the very least it will look like something. And I think because that moon's in there, it will illuminate all of it. So we'll see how it goes. At any rate, I've got another session coming up this week with Terry. We're going to be filling in the spider webs here, and we may even get the teeth as well. We may even reshade the teeth on my stomach. But I'll be talking to you guys again soon. Have a great day.